My name is Sonny Leong, and I'm Ibrahim Dugu's sidekick. Good evening. It is a great pleasure to welcome so many of you to our 4th annual SME4Labour Gala Dinner and Labour Excellence Awards. One of my guests who's left at my table earlier, our Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, MP, and 20 minutes ago, I asked her whether she'd like to take this long-arranged speaking slot instead of me. She politely declined, saying that she's done that for someone else recently and didn't want to make a habit of it. So let me share some thoughts with you. As a business owner, investor in startups, when I survey the current economic landscape and the double-edged Chinese phrase, "May you live in interesting times," spring to mind. Well, before the pandemic hit, we knew a paradigm shift in the global economy was coming. The proportion of UK workers predicted to move to jobs in new occupations by the end of this decade is currently 8%. The jobs and skills required for the coming decades are rapidly changing. The so-called oven-ready deal has not yet proven as nutritious for the UK economy as promised. In fact, what has come out of the oven, as the great British bake-off judges Paul Hollywood and Mary Berry might say, badly prepared, lacks essential ingredients, and is certainly not to everyone's taste. A far cry from having our cake and eating it. Furthermore, post-COVID, many people are working from home, are fundamentally questioning the necessity of daily commute. Interesting times indeed. But with change and challenge comes opportunity. I want to see an industrial strategy from the Labour Party that empowers all of us SME owners here to rise to these challenges and embrace these opportunities here tonight as I look around the room this evening. Just as when I talked with Labour colleagues at conference, I'm enormously encouraged. Keir Starmer, our leader, who believes, and I quote, that business growth is the engine of our economy. And it is only by backing aspiring founders like all of us here that we can create jobs and rebuild a secure economy. In April, Keir pledged to create 100,000 startups across the country in the first term of the Labour administration, rising to 10% decline since 2016 and unleashing the potential of generations of entrepreneurs. At our recent conference, he reminded us that the towns that were the crucibles of our original industrial revolution need to be revived in the next. Well, SMEs are ideally placed up and down the country to create jobs and stimulate growth in these towns to help us rebalance our economic growth and investment around the country. The UK has some of the finest universities and research centers in the world, leading the way in industries of the 21st century. AI, thank you, big data, robotics, drones, batteries, technology, and most important of all, green technologies. Thank you. I won't be long. Then a couple of supported by Keir's scheme of innovative startups, we will be able to develop commercial opportunities from the fruits of this research. These days, we need technology to deliver green, cooling, rather than white heat. So we must say a big thank you to Keir. Now, Rachel Reeves, in her first major announcement as Shadow Chancellor, demonstrated that she understands how a Labour government could support British businesses, strengthen our domestic supply chains, and train our citizens for the new jobs of the 20th and the 2030s. Through procurement contracts worth billions, a Labour Chancellor could support British SMEs in a way which would directly benefit the economies of communities across the regions and nations of the UK. This positive and patriotic support for creative and competitive businesses throughout Britain is a way to stimulate growth across the country. A Labour policy to make, buy and sell more in Britain. Thank you, Rachel. And now for our Shadow Business Secretary, Ed Miliband, who was here earlier. He's promoting a stakeholder capitalism or B Corp model for business. I first heard about this model from my good friend who's here tonight, Paul Lindley, the founder of Ella's Kitchen. And I have been actively promoting it since. It incorporates consideration of environmental impact, of employees' health and well-being, and of the effects of local economies when measuring the success of business, not just profitability or shareholder value. It could be enabled by building on the legislation of Labour's 2006 Companies Act, changing Section 172. And it's an extremely effective way of encouraging business to engage with core Labour values of equality, dignity of work, and environmentally sustainable growth. Rather than a thank you, let's say, hell yes for Ed. Now, these are just three examples of how a Labour shadow cabinet are developing a range of policies for SMEs, supporting startups to create the jobs of the future, directing procurement towards British companies across the country, encouraging companies to consider stakeholders, not just shareholders. Policies like this demonstrate that Labour is thinking like a government in waiting, ready to work with British businesses to create a dynamic economy for the 21st century. So let's roll up our sleeves and together, let's make this happen. Thank you.